All of those girlies who never read diversely are reading a BIPOC author, and they probably aren't even going to realize it because it was only mentioned a couple of times. Stop right now, do not read it. But I cannot believe, like, I'm actually like squealing at this book. Like, what? When's this going to get good? I'm giving it 2 stars on Goodreads because I feel bad, but I honestly think it's a 1 star. Hello, welcome back to the chaos that is Shani and books. Today's video is going to be a reading vlog for Jan's readathon, which was called Jante's Inferno. It's obviously over now, but if you didn't hear about it, she created a very creative readathon idea based on Dante's Inferno, which is the first part in his 3-part poem Divine Comedy. It is about his journey through the 9 circles of hell. And so Jan made a readathon called Jante's Inferno, in which you have to do a reading prompt for each circle of hell. So I'll insert the graphic, but basically you start at the bottom. You have to complete a book for each prompt of each circle of hell. I mean, you don't really need to know the rules because it's over now. But basically, I was participating, and my idea, because a lot of the arcs that I had fit for prompts, so I was not only escaping from the pretend hell that we were imagining for this readathon, but I was escaping from the hell that was having too many arcs in my NetGalley. So this vlog is going to be long enough, so I'm going to send you back, because I'm filming this at the end, to the beginning of the readathon and talk you through each of the books that I completed for each circle of hell. Oh, by the way, I tried to do the flame makeup again. I don't know, it didn't turn out as good this time, but whatever. Hopefully you're not going to be able to hear Mario behind me, but I wanted to start a vlog for the Jante's Inferno readathon. So to start off, I'm already changing my TBR from what I had planned in my video, but that's fine. I had a library hold to go and pick up for a book, and I thought maybe I can fit it in. I didn't know what edition of the book it would be, but the edition that it is actually does have snow on the cover, so it will work for the very first prompt in the readathon. The book is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett, which, if you have a look, there is snow on the cover, and I think that also this book is set during winter. I had a look at some reviews and some people were saying it was cozy winter vibes, and there was some talk about it being set in winter, so I think either way it fits for this prompt. I also really love this like hardcover edition where the cover is printed onto the book, so I'm jealous that this is a library copy and that I don't own it. Maybe I'll ask for this for a birthday or Christmas gift. I love that I'm just acting like I'm absolutely going to love this and going to want to own my own copy. We don't know that yet, but I am definitely in the mood for something like this, so going to get started on this one straight away. I am also in the mood for rearranging a bunch of my furniture in my house today. I don't know why, I just get into this mood sometimes, so I think I'm going to do that. I really need to clean up. It's probably not the time to be rearranging things because I've injured my back multiple times recently, so I went to the physiotherapist the other day, and now I have like exercises and stretches to do for that, so it's probably not a good idea to be heavy lifting some furniture, but you know what, it's what I'm going to do. I also was going to go to the library today, a different library, to pick up a different hold for Lunar Love, which is my book club book, and I'm also going to read it for this readathon, but it's raining and I don't know, I just can't be bothered today. So that's the plans. I will update you when I have an update. All right, I have finished the first book for the readathon, and I have now gotten myself out of the first layer of hell. This is going to be in a different reading vlog, so I don't want to repeat myself. Hopefully, if all goes well, that will be uploaded before this. So that is my reading booktubers favorites, and I will leave a link. But it is ironic that I'm reading this for Jan's readathon, because if you watched the video, I read books that were on people's favorites list and also their least favorites list, and this was actually on Jan's least favorites books list for the year, and I was actually in sprints and I said I was reading this, and Jen was like, oh, I didn't like that, and I was thinking, yeah, I know, that's why I'm reading it, but so it's funny. But if you saw my other video, you will know that I didn't love this as much as everyone else seems to be. I feel like this is so hyped and I just see everyone raving about it. But that is not the fault of the book. I'm just not a fantasy girly, and this is cozy fantasy, but I was still lost on all of like the fairy politics of it all. So I think I'm going to go with like a 3.5 or a 3.75, but I did say in that video that I do want to reread it in future. I got this from the library and there was like a really long hold. So I think once I return it, I'll wait have to wait again. And I will reread it. And I do think that the second time around, I probably will enjoy it more. Because yeah, I love the cozy vibes. I love the little adventure we're going on. But I just feel like I can't rate it so high when I was lost for like so much of the plot. Like I had no idea what was going on. I was just there for the vibes. So, okay, inserting myself in from the end again. I decided to do this thing. Jan this year is giving a fun fact for every book that she reads, and since this is her readathon, I decided to do that during this readathon, but I forgot for the first 2 books. So I'm obviously not going to do this for the entire year for my own books. It was fun to do for Jan's readathon, but I kept forgetting. So here's the first 2 books. So for the first book, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, I'm going to give you an encyclopedia fact. So my fact is there are certain fake entries made in encyclopedias to check whether other publishers or companies are copying from their publications. These are known as mount weasels. I've literally never heard of this, but there's my fun fact. But regardless of my rating, it has snow on the cover and it was also set during winter. So this is going to count to get me out of the bottom layer of hell, and we are moving on up to layer 8. Okay, I don't want to go on too much about this book because it is going to be in my other reading vlog, my Booktubers Favorites one. But what I will say is the craziest thing about this book is that I'm reading it for Jan's readathon, which is based on Dante's Inferno. It is mentioned in the book. Like, you won't be able to see right now in this angle, but I'll read to you what it says. Remember those wall sits where we balanced our back against the wall with our legs at 90-degree angles, our quads burning in infernos far greater than the guy we read about in English class. Dante, Divine Comedy, you loved to ridicule the idea Dante was in hell because we already knew hell. How crazy that for Jante's Inferno, I read a book that literally mentions, bless you, literally mentions Dante and Divine Comedy. Like, you couldn't have planned that. Like, what? That is so crazy. But yes, this one is fulfilling the horror prompt to get me out of it, circle number 8. I really enjoyed this. I'll leave my other vlog linked. I think I'm gonna go with like 4.75 or 5 stars. It is a weird, short horror book about this teenage girl who is a swimmer and she is turning into a mermaid. Hello, here to insert my fun fact for the second book. I'll give you a swimming fun fact. The first fun fact I came across was that most professional swimmers shave their whole body before they compete, which was kind of explained in the book as well, because they had these like shaving sessions where they all like shaved each other. I don't know how fun that is. But then I saw another fun fact that says more than half of Americans can't swim, which that cannot be true. That's crazy if it is. Although are we counting like babies? I guess babies can't swim. But more than half the country aren't babies. I don't know. That's crazy. I wonder how much of Australia can't swim. I should look that up later. And I said in my other vlog that I'm a beginner to horror. So I am always unsure if things are going to be too horrifying when I pick them up and like what type of horror it's going to be. Because there's just like so many different types of things that can make a book a horror book. So I just think I'm still learning my personal tastes. But yeah, I was reading a section that kind of like with my eyes like, oh my god, what's happening next, what's happening next, just because I am such a horror newbie. But I would recommend this to people who like weird horror, but I would not recommend this to the masses because I think it's for a very specific type of person. And I do think that that person is me. I did say in my other vlog that it did feel like it was getting a little slow, which is weird for a 220-page book. But there was one section towards the end where I was like, okay, we need to move on. Like, we got this bit. Because I wanted to see what was going to happen at the end. And I think that's because very short horror is my kind of horror. So I prefer things when it's like quick, weird, we get to the point, we get out. And I do think it dragged a little tiny bit for me. But I still really loved it, and I'm glad that I'm out of that circle of hell and on to the next one. I don't know what is wrong with me, but I felt like rearranging my furniture, and as you can see, my house has stairs, and I tried moving a shelf upstairs, and oh my god. And this one, and okay, now I need to go to the hardware store and get something to fix it. I don't know why I did that. Why did I think I could do that? This is the shelf in question. It doesn't have all of the shelves in, but it is so much taller than me, so I don't know why I thought I could lift it up the stairs that curve by myself. I mean, it's up now, but You know how there's that TikTok sound and it's like, but how would they know? How would they know? I feel like that's me right now. I mean, I didn't do the best job of painting this one, but like, I don't know. When you're renting, you just have to do your best, and how would they know? I mean, obviously if they're watching this video, they're gonna know, but like the last person did the same thing. And honestly, how do they expect us to move furniture up and down the stairs? I mean, probably lifting it with more than one person, but anyway. All right, I'm going to, I feel like the perfect glasses for the readathon need to be worn in a clip because the flames, like I don't know if you can tell, but like they're flames, so that is perfect. But I don't know if it's gonna be too distracting for a clip. But anyway, what layer of hell are we in? Right, we're in the 7th layer, and to get out of this layer, we have to read a vampire book or blood on the cover. And this is one of the ones that I am extremely cheating on, and I'm not even trying to hide it. But like I said in my TBR video, my version of getting out of hell is getting out of the hell that is having too many arcs to read. So I am gonna make it work no matter what. So the book that I have read for the vampire or blood on the cover prompt is called The Best Mistake by Emily O'Byrne. And it has 2 wine glasses. Clearly is meant to be red wine, but I'm pretending that it is blood. There's no vampires in this book, and there's definitely no blood in this book, but I'm counting it because I just am. This one is a sapphic romance book. It is basically these 2 women who had a one-night stand, and then months later they run into each other, and it turns out they are going to be working together at a university. And this one is also an Australian author and set in Australia, which I do try and read more of. Like I want to support some Aussie authors because I feel like a lot of the popular books that I hear about online are US or UK authors. So love that I have an Aussie author. So yeah, basically my final thoughts on this one is that I did enjoy it, but I didn't love it because I like didn't super like love the dynamic between the 2 women. Like they dealt with things very differently, and one of the women, Ava, when she feels like awkward, she becomes like very uptight. It did mention in the book, awkward Ava becomes uptight Ava. So she was kind of like pushing the other woman away, or it felt like she was pushing the other woman away because every time she felt awkward, like she just became really uptight, and the other woman was taken as like, okay, well she's ignoring me or she doesn't like me, which was like obviously fun in the beginning, but then it just got a little bit too much, and then I was like, okay guys, like come on, let's resolve this, because like it's just once the problem becomes too much of a problem, like it's just not fun. Like if she's just pushing her so far away, because then it's like, okay, like what is the point here? Like so I didn't love that, but there were also like lots of other topics that I didn't expect to be dealt with. Like it wasn't just a fluffy romance. There was also a side character who was a new mum dealing with postpartum depression, which I really appreciated that. One of the main characters was caring for a disabled parent. One of the women was also dealing with the loss of a family member, and she was dealing with her grief in that, which there was the exact sibling dynamic that I do really like to read in books. It was like an older sister, younger brother thing. And yeah, just rekindling relationships with family members. So I really liked all of those things added in that gave the rest of the story some depth. It was also very, very diverse. Obviously, it's a sapphic romance, so we knew there was going to be some sort of LGBT rep, but all of the side characters, like there was so many different ethnicities of just side characters, and I just love normalizing, like just having a group of friends that are not just all white in a book, because like I feel like in real life most people have a diverse group of friends, so it's really nice when all the side characters were diverse also, like even if they weren't only in it a little bit. But yeah, let me give you some quotes, I guess, to finish off. One of them says, you can fly over an island being hit with a magnitude earthquake and not even know there were people being buried by rubble. It's the same with people. You can't always know what's going on beneath. Okay, I got interrupted by Kiana, but I'm going to give you a fact. My fact for this one is not the most exciting, but because this book was in Australia, it's set in Melbourne. I'm going to give you a Melbourne fact, which is that Melbourne has been voted world's most livable city almost every year since 2011. I don't know what website I got this from, if that is accurate for 2024, but there you go. I also don't know who's voting for that, but I can definitely see that. I do not live in Melbourne, but I have been to Melbourne, and I definitely think that like the roads are just set out like to make more sense than like Sydney roads. and like public transport's pretty good in Melbourne. Yeah, I can definitely see why it would be considered a very livable city. This isn't a review of Melbourne, so I'm going to go, and we are now out of that layer of hell now that I've read my vampire book / my blood on the cover book, and we move into layer number 6. I am not a vlogger. I tried to take just like general B-roll vlog clips for this vlog and it just wasn't happening. So look, enjoy the few times that I tried to film other things that I was doing, like going book shopping, and then Kian also got another Lego set. He's been slowly but surely getting into Lego and he cannot build it yet. So here is me taking hours to build another Mario Lego set for him that I have included in this vlog simply because I attempted to take random B-roll clips and I'm not a vlogger, so just enjoy the randomness that I have for you. Okay, I might regret filming a clip or I'm tired and look like crap, but I am loving this book. The book is The Catch, by the way, by Amy Lee, and I've been reading it on and off all day, just whenever I've had a chance in between like doing things, and I'm just waiting for Kian to fall asleep so I can like read it uninterrupted. But I'm actually like smiling and like squealing. I can't look at myself because I just look so tired in the viewfinder, but I'm just really excited to be enjoying like a cutesy romance because it's been a while. This is like part of her influencer series and I have not read the first book. I read the second book and I didn't love it. Like I was enjoying the first half, but then I don't know, the character just started getting really annoying to me. But yeah, I have the arc of the third one, The Catch. It is this fashion influencer who she gets an email for like a collaboration with this like luxury hotel in Canada. So she goes, but when she lands, they have stuffed up the booking and she's actually there a week early. So she like scrambles to find a place to stay and she finds this Airbnb that is like in a small town, like an hour away, and she goes there and this like big burly bearded fisherman is there and he's like, no, we're not even open. And she's like, well, I booked on the Airbnb, and there's another woman there and she's like, yeah, no, it's fine. Turns out that it is the owner, they're the owners of the Airbnb and they're cousins, and he's just like really grumpy and she thinks he doesn't like him, and then he takes her out on the boat to go whale watching and he ends up like saving her from falling in, and then he ends up falling in and getting concussed because he's like whacked his head on something. So they rush to the hospital and she goes with him because no one else is there and she can't get in contact with like anyone, his family or anything. So to be able to be let into the hospital, she tells them like, oh, I'm his fiance, like, and then they let her in because they would only let in like immediate family. And then yeah, his family arrives and like the doctors are like, oh yeah, he's in there with his fiance, and then they have to fake date. And fake dating is, I just love fake dating, but yeah, it's fake engagement. But I cannot believe, like, I'm actually like squealing at this book. There was also this one scene where they're like brushing their teeth and they're being really competitive about brushing their teeth. And has anyone seen the movie Bring It On, like the original 90s movie? I watched that movie probably countless times. I've watched that movie so many times. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. There is a scene in that movie where they're brushing their teeth and they're like competing brushing their teeth. Like, I don't know, it's not going to make sense if you haven't seen the movie, but as soon as I read that chapter in the book, I was like, oh my god, it's just cute. I'm just like, their banter is really, really cute because they're fake dating, but they also are like she thinks he hates her and he's being grumpy, and it's like, and they're also trying to like save the Airbnb because the two cousins who are running it, they're each of their mums that are sisters. One of them wants to sell it and the other one doesn't, and like there's this whole family dynamic happening. Oh, and the other thing I like about it, I need to stop filming because I keep glancing at myself in the viewfinder and I'm like, yeah. The main character, I keep talking about how there's like a certain sibling dynamic in books that is like for me. And there was a romance book that I read last year. Oh, Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. That one had an older sister and a younger brother with like an 8-year age gap. And this has exactly that. Yeah, so she has a younger brother who's at home minding her house. And I don't know how much the younger brother is going to come into it, but so far it's like the exact dynamic. She is also adopted, so her parents were having infertility issues, so they ended up adopting her from China, and then 7 years later they ended up falling pregnant with the brother. And I'm pretty sure that her parents are white and she's obviously Chinese, but there's not been like a huge discussion about that or anything. But yeah, so she's adopted, but her brother is not. But I am just really excited. I'm at the 50% mark now and I'm very excited to continue. My band-aid's coming off. Oh my god, I'm tired. I'm so tired, but I need to finish this book. All right, I need to give you an update on The Catch. I think I said most of the things that I wanted to say in the other clip anyway, but I did end up giving it 5 stars, which I'm so happy about. The third act conflict felt very realistic for their situation. It wasn't like a stupid, annoying miscommunication trope where it just felt thrown in to create some sort of conflict. So yeah, I obviously liked that it felt realistic for their relationship. Everything I have said still stands. I liked the banter between them. I liked the fake dating aspect. And I obviously don't want to give spoilers, but there was like a really cute scene towards the end. And like the moment when the grumpy character becomes like loving and not so grumpy, like I just thought it was really cute and I'm really excited about it. And the book will already be out by the time that this vlog is up. So it's out now if you want to read it. I think I did mention in the other clip that the main character is adopted from China, and I was waiting to see if there was going to be any sort of a discussion about growing up disconnected from your Asian culture. You know I love that in a book. This did not have that. It actually didn't really even come up again. I think like she made some sort of joke about her and her brother because her brother is not Chinese and not adopted. She made some sort of joke like, oh, can't you see the resemblance? Because obviously they would look very different, but they obviously are siblings. That was the only other time it came up again, which I'm honestly not disappointed about because now this book is going to be sitting on the shelves with all of the other white romances, and all of those girlies who never read diversely are reading a BIPOC author, and they probably aren't even going to realize it because it was only mentioned a couple of times. It would have personally made the book like even better for me because you know that I love that discussion in books, but I'm not mad that it wasn't in there because I still enjoyed the book regardless. So yeah, if you think that the book sounds interesting, I would definitely recommend it. Obviously we all have different tastes, but this was a romance book that personally worked for me. And I'll give you my fun fact about the book because obviously this is Jan's readathon. So because the little town is like this fishing town and the male main character is a fisherman, I'm giving you a fishing fact. So my fact is that the biggest fish caught on record was a great white shark. In 1959, an Australian named Alfred Dean caught a great white shark that weighed 2,664 pounds. It's the largest fish caught and recorded by the International Game Fish Association. He caught 2 other great whites that broke the 1-ton mark during his fishing career. There's a replica of the record-breaking shark outside Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World in Grapevine, Texas. Yeah, classic Aussie, just pulling in some great white sharks. I honestly grew up fishing. My dad loves fishing, and my granddad had a boat that we would go out on, like a little tiny, I don't even know what type of boat it was called, but it was like a little tiny one that he would sometimes let me steer. So I actually love fishing, which is a fun fact. I'm sure that I've never talked about on my channel because when would that have come up? Until now. But there you go. I love fishing. I don't think I have any photos of me fishing. Maybe I can try and dig some up, but I'm not going to make any promises. So that gets us out of the 6th layer of hell and onto the 5th layer because I was counting this one for the hot pick, new release / hyped, because it is just about to come out and is out by the time this video is out. So let's head on to the next layer of hell. Okay, bringing back the OG Jan wig for a clip because I forgot how much I love this wig. It's getting kind of messed up, but you know, we'll do what we can. I mean, I didn't buy it thinking it was going to be a Jan wig. I just bought it because I liked it on the picture, and then when it turned up and I put it on, I was like, oh my god, I look like a Jan impersonator. But anyway, we are talking about Lunar Love in this clip. This one I am using for Battle War Knife to Throw to Enemies prompt, which it does not exactly fit, but you know what, we just have to do what we have to do here. So we are currently in the 5th circle, and this is my book to get me out of it. I have already finished it. This is a library copy, don't worry, I didn't annotate it, I just put tabs because this one is my book club book for February. If you didn't know, I have a book club and we read a book each month and then we talk about it. The live show is probably already over by the time I edit this video together, but this one is a romance book that I picked because it has to do with the Chinese zodiac signs, and the Chinese Lunar New Year happens in February, so I picked it as my February book, but also Valentine's is a February event and this is a romance book, so I was trying to be on theme. But anyway, this one is basically about this woman who is about to take over her family's business, and they have a matchmaking business, and it's like a traditional Chinese zodiac thing where it's like an in-person thing where the customers come in and they hand find someone to matchmake them with based on their zodiac compatibility. So she's about to take over that business, and then she finds out there's this new app that is coming out, which is basically kind of the same thing, but it's obviously digitalized, and it is an app that is like, I don't know, just a normal dating app, but you are matched by your Chinese zodiac signs. And so she is really mad that the person making this app is essentially like, she thinks they're stealing the family business idea. So yeah, it's a romance between her and the person who is developing this app. So that's where I kind of got the enemies thing. It's not exactly knife to throat, but she really does not like this person. So I thought this was just okay. I really loved the discussions on being mixed race because both she and the male main character are both half Chinese. So there was a lot of discussions about them not feeling Asian enough. And we all know that I love that in a book, like literally, well, firstly, the dedication at the very start. I thought it was going to be a 5-star book, but based on the fact that like the dedication says, for those who are also mixed and have felt like they aren't enough or don't belong, you are and you do. Yeah, so I obviously loved all of the discussions about that. But yeah, it was not my favorite romance simply because the main character was very hell-bent on the fact that she and the male were not meant to be together because their signs are not compatible, and she was very stubborn about that, which is obviously fine because that's the whole point of the book, but I think it was a little bit too much to the point where it was like a deterrent of the fun of the relationship. Like it kind of took the fun out of it a little bit. It was not making the relationship really fun to read. But overall, I think I'm going to give it a 3 because I do, like I said, I really enjoyed some aspects of the book, but the main character, I don't know, I didn't really feel that invested in their relationship as much, which is a shame, but we'll see what everyone thinks in the live show. But my fun fact for this one is going to be a dating app fact, because obviously this had to do with a dating app. Okay, I got interrupted by Kian, but my fun fact is that apparently men swipe right on 47% of profiles and women only swipe right on 12%. So there you go, there's a dating app fun fact. And that brings me, so now we're out of the 5th level of hell and we are on to the 4th. All right, this book is going to be in my booktubers reading vlog that I've spoken about 1,000 times, but I read Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. This is technically a romance book following two main characters who feel like very real people making real people choices. The female main character has bipolar disorder, so there were a lot of talks about that and whether or not she wants to be medicated. There was also a lot of discussion, I forgot to say this in my booktube as well, but there were quite a fair bit of discussion about being an artist and art. And while I would not consider myself an artist, I do sometimes wonder if I chose something like of a more creative type of work, like what would have happened. So I really have noticed lately, I have been enjoying characters who are artists or work with some form of art and have had discussions around that. So I did really like those parts in this book. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about this one, but Olivia Blake is Filipino, or at least half Filipino. So love that I have read a book from a Filipino author. My fact for this one is about bees, which will make sense if you have read the book, but also there's bees on the cover. But my fact is that all of the worker bees are actually females, and obviously the queen is a female, so the male bees, the only use for them is to mate with the queen, and that's all they're good for, and then they die. And I have made my way out of another layer of hell. Oh, the queen's getting us. All right, the camera is balancing on a horse, if you can believe it. A toy horse, obviously. But I'm here to give you my update for Greta and Valden. This one, it says like in the blurb, it is for fans of Schitt's Creek and Sally Rooney's Normal People. I don't know how I feel about the comparison to Schitt's Creek. I guess it's because it is following a brother and a sister, and Schitt's Creek is a brother and a sister. And I guess like the family aspects, which this kind of had. But I get where Normal People is coming from, like with that comparison. It's not like Normal People is like heavy on the romance between the two characters that we're following, whereas in Greta and Valden we're following these two siblings named Greta and Valden, and they are Russian and Maori. Am I saying that word right? I have trouble with my accent because I know like the Aussie bogan way is to say Maori, and I know that's not how you pronounce it. I'm pretty sure it's Maori, which was really exciting because I don't think I've read that many books that are written by Maori authors. I don't think I can even think of one off the top of my head, so I'm really glad that I have one now, like as a recommendation if anyone is looking for that. I ended up going with a 4 for this one. I haven't even told you like what prompt is this even fulfilling. I don't even know. All right, this is for food involved. We're on the 3rd level. This is food involved or on the cover, because obviously if I'm gonna have the cover on the screen because I read an ARC version. It is, I don't know, what is that fruit? Limes? Is it limes? I don't know. It's some sort of fruit, right? Anyway, yeah, I can't really say much about it. It is honestly like a character book. If you do not like character driven stories, stop right now. Do not read it. But if you like that and you don't need a plot, because this definitely, there's no plot. It's just the characters living their life for 300 pages. And it is also gay. Both the characters are somewhere in the LGBTQ plus. My camera ran out of battery. I'm going to see if I can do it before it shuts off again. I don't think I can. Anyway, I can't give you that much of a synopsis because it's just following the characters. So I'm going to give you some parts of the book that I enjoyed. One is where she's talking about being mixed race. You know, I love that in a book. But she says, I wonder if my mum is embarrassed because these women think she named her firstborn child after a cartoon character, or because she didn't give any of us mum. Would a different name have improved my life, or would people have been more openly racist towards me? Once at school, I got called to the dean's office because I didn't show up for a careers meeting for Maori students, and they assumed I'd been wagging. It turned out my form teacher thought it was a mistake and threw the letter in the bin. So they literally just assumed that she wasn't because she didn't look like she was Maori and she had like a Russian name. Another quote says, earlier upstairs in the gallery, I looked at a painting that I didn't like. A painting of a dark-skinned woman with golden hair with a little plaque described as a racially mixed goddess. The same as me and opposite of me, with my pale skin and black hair. Not a goddess at all, just a normal racially mixed mortal woman. I didn't tell Genevieve that the painting made me feel bad because I didn't know if she would understand. Okay, I've charged it for like 0.5 seconds, so let's see how long it lasts. There were some discussions about queerness. One said, I think that's an issue with queer society. People still have trouble accepting anyone who isn't already in or aspiring to be in a same-sex relationship as part of the community. Being queer it's in yourself. It doesn't always have to do with other people. And then there was a whole discussion around being a queer woman and men. And she said, yeah, it's just very hard to convince anyone that wanting to look pretty doesn't mean you want attention from men. And then people say it to me so much, I think I'm bi. And I go out with straight guys and I feel like I'm suffocating. And it was basically like she was saying she was a lesbian, but then people were trying to convince her that she was not a lesbian. And then my favorite quote, how much does love really matter in this economy? And I just highlighted it and wrote, lol. But my fun fact for this one is to do with New Zealand, because this book was set in New Zealand, which is my neighbour because I'm in Australia. But my fun fact about New Zealand is crazy. It is that it was the last country in the world to be inhabited by humans. New Zealand's history dates back just a few hundred years. This country was inhabited by the first humans only 800 years ago, and it was of course the Maori who arrived. Which is so crazy because they're right next to Australia, which has the oldest humans, like the oldest culture of humans, being like the First Nations Aboriginal Australians. Because as far as I'm aware, recent research has found that I need to look it up. Hold on. I need to know how many years. It's like 80,000, right? Okay, I just Googled it because I wanted to make sure I was correct. People who settled in Mesopotamia are credited as the first civilization. New research shows that Aboriginal Australians are one of the oldest known civilizations on Earth, and Aboriginal Australians can trace their ancestries back about 75,000 years. That's crazy. It's believed that this ancient group of Aboriginal Australians first settled in Australia between 40,000 to 31,000 years ago. So literally how crazy that the oldest human civilization is right beside the last country. New Zealand was only 800 years ago. That is so crazy. And they're right next to Australia. That's crazy to me. They're right beside us. I don't know why I think that is so wild, but I didn't think that it was only 800 years ago for New Zealand. You learn something new every day. Oh, anyway, so now we're on to the second layer of hell. We're almost out because I think that was the third layer, right? We interrupt the programming of this vlog to bring you my Jan photo recreation segment. If you have not seen my previous Jan readathon vlogs, I don't know why or how I started this, but I decided to recreate Jan's photos every time I do one of her readathons. If you don't follow Jan's Instagram, she posts every single day and she has been doing it for 10 years, which is crazy to me, but because I could never do that. But it's great because it gives me lots of options. So for my first recreation, I will insert the photo that I was recreating. It is Jan on her couch with a book on her lap and a blanket. So I decided to borrow a blanket of my son's. And my only brick wall is outside my house, and I was going to take the couch downstairs in front of the brick wall outside. It's not a heavy couch, it's like Kian's kid couch. But I decided that I should just Photoshop in the brick. So here is my before, my Jan picture, and my recreation. The second one was simple. It was just Jan in a white sweater in front of a white wall holding her book. So I decided to hold the book that I was currently reading, which was Chlorine. And I actually had to put my jumper, sweater, whatever you call it, backwards because the pattern just didn't fit the vibes of the photo. So here is my recreation. This is not my favorite. Next, I have this photo of Jan in her car, and she has the half blue hair, which I decided to bring out my Jan wig for this one. I'm calling it my Jan wig. I didn't intend for it to be a Jan wig, but it was. And she has bat glasses on, so I decided to go with my flame glasses because it's a readathon about hell. So I went with the flames. And instead of leaving my wig white, I decided I was going to go all in with the pink theme. And here is my before and after, and I call this one Jan but make it pink. This one's not perfect because I always forget that when you're looking at the camera it's flipped, so it's the best I could do because people were staring at me and I was in my car and I just couldn't. And my final one is my silliest one. You may think it's silly. I thought it was silly, but it ended up being my favorite one. So I have this photo of Jan at this bookshop called The Last Chapter Bookshop, and I believe is in Chicago. And I thought to myself, wow, this would be cool if I could Photoshop myself onto this backdrop. I searched high and low and I could not find a photo, a blank photo with no people in it in this location in the bookshop. I thought for sure they would have posted just a blank one, but I could not find one. So I ended up going through their tagged photos and found someone who didn't really look like they were using a filter. So I had like the rawest image of it, and I had to edit that person out so that I could edit myself in. So here is my before and after for this one. I always forget that I have like people who follow me, because when I posted it and I said like I couldn't find a blank photo, so I had to Photoshop someone out, I received a comment saying I actually have a photo with no one in it. I was there earlier this month. And I never even thought of the fact that like I could have posted being like, hey, does anyone have a photo in this location with no people in it? I just didn't think anyone would have that. But regardless, I did complete my photoshopping task of photoshopping someone out. And I actually posted this one while Jan was doing sprints. So I got her live reaction to it.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. My notifications don't go on till 30 minutes from now. So have you posted it yet? Let me know. Wait.
Yo, when Sharni recreates your pictures, bro, that's wild.
She photoshopped herself. Listen, if you need, you're saying Gavin's good at photoshopping, but like Sharni is also. And look, that's me.
Shut up.
That's her. I'm screaming. Just a quick trip from Australia to Chicago. I love you, Sharni.
That's crazy.
Oh my God, I would never think you're a loser. I love you so much.
I did think it was silly, but it actually turned out to be my favorite one. So maybe I need to Photoshop myself into locations more often. But that's it for my photo recreation for this readathon. And now we will head back into the vlog. All right, we are on the second last layer of hell. We have almost made it out. And I'm going to give you my review for the book that I read for this one, which the prompt was any semblance of a romance. So I read a romance book, which was called Playing with Matches. This one is a sapphic romance book that I thought I was gonna like, and unfortunately I did not. Basically, this one is a sapphic romance book. It is fake dating, a small town setting. They're preparing for a wedding. So many things that I love. And I did not love it. First of all, on the small town setting, I'm referring to my notes for this. I'm reading ARCs, so I obviously had to take notes for a review anyway. So yeah, it's a small town setting, but one of the main characters, Liz, she does not remember the other girl, Corey, at all, despite it being a small town. And literally the beginning of the book says, it was one of the things that Liz both loved and hated about Crimson Valley. Everybody knew everybody, which meant a lot of the time, everybody knew your business. It could be unnerving, feel invasive. At the same time, there was something comforting about it. About having the people in your town know you and look out for you. And yet, through all that, she does not remember at all this woman. And now she's like, oh, who's this attractive woman? And like her mum remembers her, like all her family knows who this girl is. And Liz's dad owns the building that Corey is running her business out of and lives in. And yeah, she's still like, it was ruining the small town vibes, because small town, like, and I grew up in like a pretty small town, and like they went to school together, like you knew everyone, like it was just ruining the small town vibe. So anyway, Corey, she is running this business, and Liz has lived out of this small town for a while. So maybe, I don't know, maybe she's just lived out of the town for so long that she forgot who Corey was. But I don't know. But anyway, Liz has had to return home to the town, and her parents own a B&B, and so she's helping out with there. And there's a wedding that is happening at the parents' B&B. And so the plot of the story is that she comes back, she's helping with this wedding, and then she finds out that the wedding is actually her ex-boyfriend, who is obviously getting married to a new woman now. And so when Liz finds this out, she's like, oh my God. And he's like, yeah, how's your job? How's your life? Blah, blah, blah. And she's just embarrassed that she's not like where she should be in life. And so she just grabs Corey, the other woman, and she's like, oh yeah, this is my girlfriend. And so now they have to fake date, because Liz is like trying to save face in front of her ex. But I just really didn't like Liz. Obviously I said she didn't remember the other woman like at all, but also like clearly her family's well off. The dad owns the building that the other woman lives in. The family owns the B&B. I think they owned it. I don't know. Anyway, she was definitely like rich girl vibes, and she was definitely giving off like mean girl energy. Like I think she was just the high school mean girl, and that's why she didn't remember the other woman. And she did admit to being a daddy's girl. She even said her dad was handsome, which nothing wrong with that. But she also said like, oh, all my friends had crushes on my dad, and they were like swooning over her dad as a kid, and she pretended to be like, guys, stop, but she actually loved it. Like, she said she loved it, which I thought that was weird. Which also, there was like a sex scene with Liz walking into her parents having sex, and then the parents were like, oh, come in here, we want to talk to you, like while they're naked in bed. And then it said like, oh, like they're just teasing me. But it was just such an awkward scene. And then we had to read like another scene where she was telling another character like, oh, I just walked into my parents. And then we had to read it. Like, it was just like an awkward like set of events to be reading about. I didn't really like that. But yeah, I think Liz was a mean girl, because then obviously the wedding is happening, and she made a comment about like the bridal party. She said about one of the girls, she was naturally attractive and slim, but unlike the other girls, didn't look like a stiff wind could come along and blow her over sideways. In other words, saying that the other women in the bridal party were just thin, and that this one girl, like she was trying to compliment this one girl, being like, oh, she was thin but not too thin. And like, I just feel like in order to give a woman a compliment, we don't need to tear down other women. Like, we didn't need to compare all the women in the bridal party and be like, oh, this one girl, she was thin and she was really pretty. The other women in the bridal party, they were too skinny and it looked like the wind was going to blow them over. Like, we don't need to tear them down. Like, and these were just random side characters. Like, I just feel like it was weird. So yeah, the other woman I liked more, Corey, but I just feel like there was no chemistry between the two of them. Like, we got one comment where Liz was like commenting on Corey's ass, but then there was like no chemistry between the two of them. Like, I didn't get why they liked each other. And one side character kept going on and on about how they look at how they're looking at each other, like the sun rises and sets in her eyes, like she hung the moon. But it was just like one side character. Like, I am not going to believe this one side character if I can't see it for myself. Like, I don't know, like just the comments of one character being like, oh, look at how they look at each other, look at how they look at each other. But like, we weren't getting the first-hand knowledge of them like being in love or anything. And yeah, I'm not going to give you spoilers, but obviously we're leading up to the wedding. Like, the wedding, this was the weirdest wedding scene. Like, it was bizarre. I didn't like it. And yeah, I won't spoil it, but it was just weird. And the characters were meant to be in their 30s, but they were just really immature. One note that I did take is the one positive thing that I'll be giving for the book and Liz is that she did do something really cute at the end. Like, she set up this really cute date for the two women. It was like basically the final chapter, and I thought it was really sweet. But other than that, like the whole book, I was like, what? When's this going to get good? I forgot about my fact for this book. So my fact is to do with candles, and that is because Corey, her business that she does, she makes and sells candles. So my candle fact is about the world's tallest candle, and the world record for the world's tallest candle is a long held one. A 24.38 meter high candle was on display at the Stockholm exhibition in 1897. When you added its base, it soared to a skyscraping 38.7 meters tall. How random. Who just thinks like, oh, we're going to make this giant candle? Like, what the heck? I feel really bad because like, I feel like sometimes like some of the arcs that I request is like authors that I've heard of or books that I've seen. But like a couple of the romance books that I was like, I'm obviously in my sapphic era. So I was requesting a lot of sapphic romance books. And it usually like it works out fine. Like, I've requested some that I've never seen or heard of before, and I've ended up loving them. Like, one made it into my favorites of the year last year. So it's not like I am just like requesting random things and they're never turning out. So I feel really bad that I am going to be giving this not the best review, but I feel like I'm going to give it 2 stars, which is not great. But you know what? It's done. It's fine. We're moving on. And yeah, we're now on to the final level of hell, where we have to just read one more book and then we are out. So hopefully that one goes a bit better. Okay, the good news is that I have made it out of hell and read my final book. The bad news is that I really did not enjoy that book. And I have to refilm this clip because when I imported the last one, there was no sound attached. So that's great. Basically, the book is called All Things Beautiful, which I was really, really excited about because it is another sapphic romance. And it is between 2 single mums. They each have like a toddler. One is 4, one is 2. And I am a mum of a 3-year-old. So like, it sounded like it was going to be so good for me. And I'm really sad that I didn't like it. But I've also had 2 books in a row that I didn't like. Both were sapphic romances. And both of them were arcs from the same publisher. So now I've got to send in 2 arcs. 2 arc reviews of like books that I hated. I'm giving it 2 stars on Goodreads because I feel bad, but I honestly think it's a 1 star. I really didn't like it. And it's got like not that many ratings on Goodreads, so I feel bad that I'm like one of the only negative reviews, which is why I'm not giving it 1 star, because I cannot be the only 1 star review on Goodreads. I'm too scared. And like, I don't know. Last year, one of the random sapphic romance arcs that I requested, like I'd never heard of the book. I just saw it and I was like, oh, that looks fun. Requested it. It ended up like in an honorable mention in my favorites of the year. So it's not just that like requesting random books that I've never heard of is bad, because it works out for me sometimes, but it just happened to not work out this time. Basically, the other reason that I didn't love it, it is a teacher-student romance, which I did know about going into it, but because it said like it was after the student had finished her degree, so I thought maybe this was like a casual like hobby class, but no, it was like a very exclusive school that you had to apply, and the teacher like handpicked the student out of like all the applications to be like her personal project, because she thought that she had a lot of potential in art. It's an art school. So yeah, the power dynamic was definitely strong, which I was just going to push through it because I thought, you know, that's my problem, that I don't like student-teacher romances, because obviously both the women are adults. It's just the power dynamic. However, they kept going on about how unethical it was, and it's not morally right. And I was already thinking it was unethical. So the fact that they kept going on and on and on about it, I was like, okay, now I really can't get on board if you guys aren't on board. But it also did have a DV storyline, which I usually do not pick up. However, as of late, it has been healing to read in a safe environment of a book. And the dedication said, for the brave who left and for those who need to hear that leaving is possible. However, it was very much in the storyline, and it was also like a big stalking element, like it wasn't just mentioned. And the one thing that had me like thinking, what is this book doing, is there was a murder in this book. It wasn't just like a death of someone, like someone got murdered. There was a full murder scene, and it's not a dark romance, it's like a contemporary like fluffy romance. So I was like, what is going on here? And the murder scene, I won't spoil who gets murdered, but a character gets murdered and they are a person of color. And then afterwards, literally like sentences after we find out that someone got murdered, one of the characters says, when everything settles down, I want to reach out to their parents and set up a scholarship in their name. It might be nice to make it available to BIPOC students if that's something they'd want. And like, can we just grieve the person for 1 second without like coming up with a plan to like make your school look good, like help BIPOC students? I know it's meant to be like, they were supposed to be coming across as like charitable, honorable, like it was just giving white savior vibes. Like, let's just mourn them. How about that? Let's just grieve. Like, they just got murdered like 2 hours ago and we're already like, let's set up a fund in their name. Like, I don't think we should be thinking about the business aspect when the person of color is literally just killed. So yeah, unfortunately, both characters were very immature, and there were a few like cute scenes with their toddlers, because that's what I was looking forward to. Like, they were like playing family, and like the toddlers were playing together, and the women were like, oh, like it was like a little glimpse of like, oh, what's going to happen if they're together? And I thought that was really cute, and that's what I was hoping for in the book. But I don't know, maybe just because I have personal experience of like things in this book, that I just thought that the things were not well done. Because during the murder scene, and I can't believe that I'm talking about the murder scene, but both the women were very happy to throw themselves into the line of danger, which would orphan their young toddlers based on their family situation. Like, both of their toddlers would be orphaned if they died, which I know it's meant to be like heroic and romantic. Like, oh, she wants to save her like other woman and she's willing to put her life at risk. But I'm sorry, when you are a single parent of a toddler, my number one priority is him. Second is me, because like, he's gonna have no mother if I die. Again, I know it's a romance book, it was meant to be like a romantic thing, but when one character was recovering in hospital after almost dying, a side character was explaining to the other woman like, oh, she had time to save herself and go with the children, but she decided to go down to the danger because she thought there might have been a chance that you would go down to the danger. And it's just like, like both of them were just like, okay, we'll just leave our kids here and we're gonna just go deal with this dangerous issue. Again, I know it was meant to be like romantic, like, oh, she risked her life for this other woman, but when there's children involved, that doesn't feel romantic to me. It just feels reckless. And that maybe that's my problem, because I am a mother to a toddler. But like, the murder scene was like towards the end of the book, and at this point the women had already annoyed me so much that I was like, I'm over it. So I just really feel bad about having to leave a bad review. And I think like I have a few more arcs to go, but I think I need to just like read some books from the library, read some books from my shelf, things that if I hate it, I'm not going to feel as terrible, especially when there's like barely any ratings on Goodreads. There's like 100 ratings and like 50 reviews. So I'm going to be one of the only negative reviews, which sucks, but I feel bad. But the good news is I'm out of hell. I read my final book, and that's this readathon. I also forgot to refilm my fun fact when I refilmed that final clip. So my fun fact for this one has to do with art, because they were like an art school. So my fun fact is the Mona Lisa has her own mailbox in the Louvre because of all the love letters she receives, which is crazy that people are sending love letters to a painting that can't even read the love letters. But yeah, and that concludes my Jantes Inferno vlog. I'm not going to stretch out this outro because the vlog is long enough already. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, I doubt anyone is watching right until the very end. But yeah, if you have made it to the end, let me know. Do you request ARCs? I need to know. What is your NetGalley score? Mine is now at 81%. It would have been higher, but I did just get approved for 2 more. I'm not requesting anymore. The bad experience with those 2 2-star books, I feel really bad. But please, if you review ARCs, let me know. Like, if you really dislike a book, like, how do we go about this? Because I just really feel bad. I don't know. Am I supposed to feel this bad about it? But I need to know. ARC reviewers, let me know. I've also never requested a physical ARC from a publisher. Should I try doing that? Will I have better success that way? I don't know. I've never emailed a publisher and I am kind of too scared to. So maybe I should make that my next goal, because my first goal was to get NetGalley and start using it. And I think that's well and truly completed by now, but at least my percentage is above 80 now. I'm officially out of my ARC hell, and this readathon helped me to complete that goal. So thank you very much, Jan and the Jantes Inferno readathon, for assisting me with that goal. And I'm going to stop talking because this vlog is really long. So love you. Thank you for being here. I love Jan. As always, check her out because I am the biggest Jan fan.